going to be determined by which path inside of me I choose to follow and to listen to. If I follow the path of thought, it will take me into the world. And listen, I can condemn every one of you in thought in this world, and I can get the evidence. And it won't take much. Because all I got to do is just find one little bit of evidence. It doesn't have to be accurate, it's just got to be evidence. And that's it for you. See, and I can really lay it on you. Except for one thing, you know that I was no longer in the center of the heart, loving and being spiritual, because now I'm trying to condemn those people out there who have done all these terrible things, either for me, against me, to me, or they didn't do it and I wanted them to. Whatever way that works. Whatever means you have to twist it to accuse, then we know how to do that. We've all been trained in it. Blame them is the biggest one. If that doesn't work, then you have to come back inside. And the inner spiritual reality in there says, gee, it's wonderful outside. It's really beautiful, and it's really beautiful inside. At that moment, guess what you're sitting in, because there are no judgments, there are no recriminations, there are no blames. There's nothing out there in that world that is more powerful and worthwhile than what you have discovered called the kingdom of heaven, or the spiritual garden, or the place of oneness, or the center, or sometimes called the Alpha and the Omega. And in that place, there is no thought. If you go, oh, I think I'm in that place, you're back out. Our whole system of life has been to educate us to look out. And yet, the very means of looking out are done by the process of what's inside. And inside, we have inherited the wisdom of the ancients. We have the knowledge of eternities. Now, when you start talking about eternity, you can't do timelines. Because if you do timelines, you're not talking about eternity, because eternity isn't a timeline. It's just a is place. And people go, well, then when it says in these books you're going to be damned for an eternity, what does that mean? It means you're going to be damned in a is place. How long is that? Nobody knows. You say, well, I think it's 1,000 years. Wonderful. You're out here in the world thinking and running your thought pattern. Somebody else says 2,000. Somebody else goes 5,000. You go, sold. Or maybe you go, bingo. You know, you won the prize. Nobody can know. And there are no scriptures that can tell you that it is so in a certain way, in a certain method, in a certain time. There are none. Go read them. You'll be dead before you get through. So go ask people that have read them, and they will give you their studied opinion about what they think about that. And you'll know as soon as they give it to you that that's not it. Because it's a thought into the world, and it's going to be tinged with the opinions and the seeking of approval and the wanting of something in this world. People will take the inner information and they'll pass rumors around for their own unscrupulous ends. And as soon as they start their rumors going and their mouth running and the thoughts of evidence accruing, you know exactly who you're talking to. And one of the scriptures said, get thou behind me. That gets behind is the negative thought, the controlling of the mind. The inner part that follows the will is the heart. It knows as a wisdom, not as a knowledge, because knowledge is there out into the world again. But as a wisdom and as a loving, it brings forward inside of you to your sense perception that there's something mighty and magnificent residing inside of your body somewhere, and you can't identify it. And it's there, and it's you, and it's it, and you go in and out of it, and in and out of it. And it's when I'm in my heart, I'm loving, and when I'm not, I'm really miserable. Right. But maybe you haven't heard it explained in a way where the mind, thought part, gets told what it's doing. So that when it starts to do it, the will of the heart can come forward and take the mind and bring it back in and have it come quiet and serve in life. Now, this essence of who we are could be psychologically related to memory. But it's not the memory of logistic behavior called the train goes down this street and I live at this block. It's the memory of who I am and who I feel I am and who I think I am, and that type of psychological memory. We can do without that, because that's what the thought grabs onto out of the spiritual form inside of us and brings forward and uses then the psychological implications of our life to place all sorts of negativity on it, called resentment, guilt, vindictiveness, and you know them. We can just run them out there for 5 billion people and probably thousands of different variations of that. The simple equation, though, boils down to, so what? Because now that you know that, and when you live that, you damn yourself by having the knowledge that you can live within a spiritual form of loving inside of you, and you choose to fight against the Lord of lights, or the Father of lights, or the God of gods, or the King of kings, or the Savior of all, that you've chosen to fight against it. Call it by whatever name. It isn't going to change it. Inside then, we have access to 2 worlds. One is this world here called the natural, that we know by thought, and we know by emotional responses. And those become a reality unto themselves, separate from a reality of real knowing. Then there's another plane inside of us called, let me redefine this. Out here is the natural, and this other one is called the supernatural. Not supernatural, but supernatural, as meaning it's still natural, but it's super. And that's the trueness of who we are, and that's the one that we know we are. And knowing that we are that as an eternal essence, and boy, when that floods through the body, it vibrates and comes alive, and you just tingle and you're in love. And you don't even know who with, and you're looking for somebody. And anybody will do at that moment. This thing flips over into the mind, and you go, yeah, but not you, and 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 not you. And I'm miserable, and I need somebody, and I'm loving, but no, I don't want them, and there's nobody worthwhile. Gee, and a few minutes ago, anybody would do, and now nobody will do. I know, I don't know what's wrong with me. Why am I like that? Inside of you, you have this positive and negative polarity. God created that in us. The materiality of the body is the negative, and what gives life to it is the positive. That positive is a direct conduit to spiritual life. And we can call it to the soul, and by way of the spiritual gasoline into God. And when it activates as an eternal nowness, it is never in memory. It is never in memory, because memory is finite into a timeline in this world, and this other part resides in eternity with no time, no timelines, no reference points. And in that, it lifts itself vibration-wise above the same place of negativity, and you can have heaven here and hell down here, all within the same framework, and you get a choice to walk into hell or to walk into heaven. And you don't walk in